Okay, Nia, it's your time to shine, boy. Come here. I think we've timed this quite well because we just got back from a walk and he's kind of tired. So this is little Neo. He is a little puppy, yes. And if I put him down, he'd probably want to run away because this garden is not puppy-proof or dog-proof. So ever since we got him, we've had this kind of makeshift pen out of this sort of green mesh and some bamboo canes, which are just holding that green mesh into position. So we've got a few kind of challenges. One, I need to make this garden puppy-proof, dog-proof for this little one so he doesn't just run away. And that back corner over there needs some sorting out. And I've got a good idea what I want to do with it. You ready? So this area here, as you can see, is quite a large area. If I go back into this corner here, and it's just a mud patch. And I need to turn that mud patch into a nice seating area, a decked seating area. So I was actually lucky enough to acquire some composite decking, quite a lot of composite decking actually. Now I wouldn't normally choose this myself, I wouldn't probably buy this, but this was all free, so I really couldn't say no to it. So this area here, I'm gonna build this kind of corner decked area out of this composite decking. Just needs a bit of a clean up, and then I'm going to be building a fence behind it with some like green mesh and make a nice kind of seating area, which is both practical and functional because it means the dog won't escape, and also I can sit there and have a pina colada in the summer. So I've had this wheelbarrow for about 3 years, and ever since I got it, the wheel exploded. As you can see down there, the wheel is basically not a wheel anymore, probably because I overload it too much. And if you watched our previous videos, you would know that I don't make life easy for myself, and I could easily go to the shop and replace the wheel for the wheelbarrow. But I've also got another wheelbarrow and this wheel. They're both gone. They're both practically useless. You see, this is when I think to myself, why have I not done this sooner? £25 for a puncture-proof wheel for the wheelbarrow means it should never break ever again because I tend to load it up way too much and that's what causes the punctures. But now I've just kind of realised that I don't think I need a wheelbarrow for the rest of this job. That was a waste of time. Okay, so I've just spent some time now staking out and putting a string line around this area because I'm trying to work out the exact size and scale I want to go for. Being a garden means that there is nothing level or square within it. So both that hedge along there and this hedge along this back wall, they don't go at 90 degree. They're kind of like this weird angle. So it's kind of got this slightly less of a 90-degree angle back there. Then I've got this kind of tree I'm trying to work around as well. So what I've had to do is put a straight string line along the back and then work everything off of that straight line along there. So I've got two 90 degrees, one in that corner and one in this corner here. And that basically just means that when you start to lay the decking, it will be a lot easier because the frame is squared up with the actual decking. And to get a perfect 90 degree over these bigger distances, you might be wondering, how do you get a perfect 90 degrees? Well, there's a method called the 3-4-5 method, or the 3-4-5 theory. So to use that method, we can measure one of the lines what we've got at, say, 3 feet. So we put a marker in at 3 foot, which is exactly there. And then on the other side, where we want the 90 degree to be, we're going to measure 4 feet and then mark it. So we're going to put another marker in there where it's at 4 feet. And that basically means that the distance between those two marked points is exactly 5 feet, hence 3-4-5. We've got 3 feet, 4 feet and then 5 feet on the diagonal, and that gives us a perfect 90-degree corner right here. And if you're going to be doing a big vast open space, you could double it to say 6 feet, 8 feet and 10 feet, but that is giving me a perfect 90 degrees. But the other corner, I'm doing something slightly different over there. So in this corner, I've done another 90-degree angle. So I know that my 3 outer lines are square and parallel with each other, but I do not want my decking to go into that 90 degree. I think that might look a bit silly, and I want to be able to step onto the actual decking. So I want to cut off this corner and build a step. And to get a step at a 45-degree angle, we can use that 90 degree, measure back at a distance, whatever distance you want. I'm choosing exactly 1 meter. So I'm going to measure 1 meter and then use that same distance on the opposite side. So again, exactly 1 meter and mark it. And that basically means by joining those 2 points up across there, that gives me a perfect 45-degree angle to step up onto the decking. And using 90 degrees and 45 degrees means that when you start to cut your wood and do miter joints and stuff, it becomes so much easier than any weird kind of quirky angle. But talking of quirky angles, this one back here is going to be my only weird quirky angle, but it's fine because it's kind of hidden against the hedge. All 3 other sides are all nice and square and parallel. So the first thing I did was whack in some fence stakes where I wanted one of those 90-degree corners. That meant I could get a temporary piece of wood in position, which helps with my levels, and I could work everything off of this piece of wood. I then chopped up a fence post into small sections. Now I could go back over to that piece of wood and dig a hole where I'm going to be postcreting in some wooden legs. Once dug, I can partly fill it with water, insert one of the support legs, then grab a bag of postcrete and start filling it up. And add a touch more water and clean off the wood. Okay, well that's kind of annoying. The rain has just started, but that's not going to stop us. We have just put this post in with some postcrete, so that is going to dry and go nice and rock solid. Once it has, I can basically fasten this piece of wood to it. And what I'm going to do now is work on this left-hand piece here. And I said just now about that 3, 4, 5 method to get the 90 degrees. I'm basically going to do that same thing again, but to double check, you can also use like a 90-degree triangle. And to make sure that it is 90 degrees and it stays 90 degrees, I'm using just this old scrap piece of wood. And what I'm going to do is just put 1 screw in up here. Then I can use this to make sure that this is a nice 90 degree. And then once it is, put another screw in, so that gives it a nice brace. So if I want to move these pieces of wood here, I can, but I know that that will stay at that 90-degree angle, which is very important. And now that means I can postcrete in a few more support legs into the ground. Now I'm just continuing to clean the ground and build the frame to the exact size I want. And again, I'm just postcreting in a few more support legs into the ground to give the frame a nice strong structure. Okay, and look at that. This framing is now really starting to take shape. I've spent quite some time postcreting in all of those support posts down into the ground, as you can see, and it's really starting to feel nice and rigid and solid. But one thing which I've not done yet is fastened it to any of those support posts. So this whole frame at the moment is still freestanding, so I can do all of the leveling at a later stage. And you might be able to see that it looks like a bit of a weird shape at the moment. That is because I've not done that 45-degree angled step at the moment. I mainly wanted to build the frame with all those nice 90 degrees to make sure it's nice and rigid and solid, so now I can do that 45-degree angled step. I'm basically doing all of this for him. I say I'm doing it all for him. That's clearly not for him. That's just going to be a nice composite decking area. But the puppy proofing, oh, thank you. The puppy proofing is for you. And I'm thinking now, I've built the deck and it's looking pretty good. I'm just trying to work out what stage I'm at and what I have to do next, because that's the thing. When I do these projects, I literally just wing it. I make it up as I'm going along. I've never done this before. I think it looks all right so far. you want to go have a look? Yes. This will be your little play area soon, bud. Right, enough distractions from you, buddy. Let's get on with it. Okay, so now that weed guard is down and I've basically cut through all of those wooden support posts, which I can then fix this frame to at a later stage. But whilst this frame is up and out of the way, I'm going to do the puppy proofing bit, or the dog proofing bit, and put some green mesh from that wooden post there over to the other wooden post there, and then I'm going to feed it through the hedge, the back of this hedge, and then it would join onto a gate on the other side. And I'm actually going to be using that same green mesh, what I said at the very beginning, and cut a section off of it so I can actually use it over there. And then when it joins onto a gate here, I'm then going to use a little bit more of that mesh and go through there and then sort all of that out at a later stage. But that basically means that the top end of the garden will be fully dog proof then. Now the fence is done, I could put the decking frame back down and get it into its final position. And I'm going to be using these big heavy duty bolts to secure it to those wooden legs. By using these big bolts means the frame should hopefully last a bit longer and be more secure than just using wood screws. I also added a few more noggins across the frame and secured them to those wooden legs. And now those big old bolts are in, you can see that I've actually like countersunk them in, so I can actually put an end panel on. This whole structure has really started to like take shape now, and it feels absolutely rock solid and it is not moving anywhere. And now that means I should be able to start laying that composite decking, but I don't really know where to begin. And once I started laying it, I was surprised by how easy it was, as I used the specific clips designed for this type of decking. And cutting the boards was super quick and easy by using my chop saw. But as this decking was second hand, some of the boards were a bit out of shape. So I made this quick and easy wedge out of a scrap piece of wood. I could then hammer in my rubber mallet which straightened the decking without damaging it. Then it was as simple as using the decking clips which secured it nice and straight and in the right position. Now all I had to do was copy that process and repeat the same steps with each board, making sure they were all nice and straight. Well, I like to say I planned this, but it was just pure luck. The decking ended up being a full board and all I had to do was notch out a small section around the fence post. Okay, so that decking is pretty much done and the dog proofing is done over in that corner. I now want to basically continue the dog proofing and join back onto the fence, which is here, and join it straight over to the fence over there. And I'm going to be doing that the same way I did it just now with that green mesh. And then I want a gate. So I've got these really nice big old gates. And these gates are actually really cool because I picked them up off of Facebook Marketplace. I got 2 of them for £20, which I think is an absolute bargain. And they're about 1.5 meters long each. So it's about 60 inches. So I've got 2 of them. One of them I'm going to be putting here. So there's a nice big open walkway down into the rest of the garden. And then the other one, if I squeeze under my string line, I'm then going to be putting this one down the very end of the garden onto the fence down there. And that means that when this gate and this fence is in here, that means that this whole top half of the garden is fully dog proof. So Neo can come out here on his own and have a little play without getting lost. And then the end of the garden is going to be a whole different challenge, which I'll be doing in a different video. So now let's get the fence post in, which will be used by one of those new gates. And
by using a string line, this means that we can make sure that it's in the right position. And as soon as the postcrete went off, I could then attach the new hinge brackets for the gate. And now the gate was on its hinges, I could swing it across and see its final position. This meant I could get the other fence post in the exact position on the opposite side of the gate. Now this gate being super old meant the latch was pretty useless, so I'm going to be installing a new heavy duty one. So all I had to do was drill 2 holes into the top of the frame, which meant I can now bolt on the new latch. And then secure the new catch onto that newly postcreted fence post. And now all I had to do was add some more of that green wire mesh and that nice wooden half round rail to finish off that dog proofing fence. I then jumped back over to the decking area to add a few more finishing touches around the edge, which really finished off this seating area nicely. I then decided to sink in an old flagstone into the grass, which really helped to make it all feel cohesive and like it's always been there.
So, as you will have seen, I contributed absolutely nothing to this project. However, I am going to enjoy the results by sipping on a lovely pina colada on our nice new decking area. There's still a few bits to do, need to put some grass seed down, maybe some more plants, just tidy up a bit. However, it's now time to show you the final results.
Now we absolutely love this area and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's not really fingers crossed, we'll get a lot of use out of it in the summer.
But it's not only important that we like it, the most important thing is that the dog likes it.
You better do, because I put a lot of effort into this. Hollie?
Let's go get him. Come here, boy. Sit. Go on then. He just likes the mud. Come here, Neo. What about over here? What about over here?
Now, this is a typical spaniel thing to do. He's more interested in going in all the bushes and all the plants, than going on to the new decking area.
What are we thinking?
You are covered, bud. You're covered in twigs. Look, come here. There's a good boy. Sit. Neo, look. Neo, this way, look.
Thank you so much for watching, and we would love to hear what other videos and DIY projects you'd like to see us tackle in the future. Let us know in the comment section down below.